Hey folks, Matthew Lanigan here again with BayWa RE. I am the Chief Commercial Officer here at BayWa. Really appreciate y'all taking time out of your busy schedules to spend a bit of time with us and our great partner APsystems to learn about their DS3 and new QT2 inverters. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we start. This will be recorded. It'll go up on our YouTube channel. If you haven't signed up for our YouTube channel, I'd encourage you all to do so. You can find it there, as well as all past webinars. It'll also come out in our monthly newsletter. We will be taking questions. I just ask that you put them down in the bottom right corner. We have quite a bit of information to go through today, so we will be answering all questions at the end. Continuing education is very important for our staff and our customers, so we're happy to share that with you here today. So without further ado, we have Crystal Davis, Technical Support Manager with APsystems, and Derek Gerdts, Solar Technical Support Specialist. Guys?
Awesome, thank you for that handoff, Matt. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here and we'll get this started. All right, is that coming through for you?
Yes, we see it.
Perfect. Let's go ahead and get started here. Maybe for about 4 to 6 months now, depending on where you are.
Derek, we're having a hard time hearing you if you're there.
What was that?
There, I can hear you now. We couldn't hear you before.
Oh, okay. Let's see if I can fix this real quick.
But you're loud and clear at the moment.
Okay. Bear with me just a moment. Let's see.
We have a shout out to Crystal that she's been amazing to deal with. All right.
Awesome. Let's see if I can maybe try and do something real quick. Maybe turn up the volume here. Let me know if this comes through better or not. If not, I might just have to go from scratch. I'm gonna. Did that come through any better for you when I played that?
No.
Okay. Let me scratch this in and let me go from scratch. Bear with me just a moment. Let's do this here. Get rid of that. I'll just pull up. Let's try this one more time. Okay, am I still coming through for you?
I can hear you, yep.
Okay, perfect. So I apologize about that. I tried to make a recording yesterday for doing this a little bit easier for us, but I'll just go ahead and do it from scratch. So yeah, just to introduce myself here, we are going to be talking about the DS3 and the QT2 today. And this is in our partnership with BayWa. And just a quick introduction on myself. My name is Derek Gerdts. I am technical support for the Canadian market. I have been with APsystems for about 2 years now. I've been in the industry for about 7 total. Majority of my work has been on the customer support and technical support side of things. Also, I didn't put it on here. I wasn't sure if Crystal was going to be joining me off the bat or not, but Crystal is also on the call with me as well. She's been with APsystems for about 3-4 years now. Been in the industry for about the same time as myself. So I'm sure you might have crossed paths with us if you've used APsystems products before. But figure if you did need to get in contact with us, you can reach us by at the support.canada@apsystems.com channel, or by reaching out our 1-800 number. And so just to give you a brief agenda of what we'll be going over on this webinar today, we're going to be doing a quick company overview, and then we'll be going into the product offerings of the DS3 and the QT2. We'll give you a brief system architecture of both, We'll let you know where you can find some resources. And then at the end, I will do probably about a 10, maybe 15-minute EMA walkthrough, try to show you what the portal looks like, give you some tips and tricks to potentially handle that a little bit better, or maybe find something that maybe you didn't know about before. And then as Matt was talking about, we'll also take the questions at the end. So if you do see something, say on the first couple of slides here, feel free to write that question down and we'll try to get to as many as we can at the end. I suspect maybe about 10, 15 minutes at the end for questions. And just giving you that brief company introduction, APsystems was founded in the Silicon Valley in 2010. We are a global provider of module level power electronics equipment for the solar PV industry with research and development centers in USA and also in China. We have worldwide business units and offices kind of spread out throughout the globe, some in Europe, some in USA, some in Mexico, some in Australia, and then also some in China as well. And just giving you some key facts about APsystems. So we are the #2 solar microinverter supplier worldwide, the #1 multi-module microinverter supplier worldwide, over 2 gigawatts installed, which comes out to about 2 million microinverters. We're servicing customers in over 100 countries, and we have more than 150,000 residential and commercial solar installations worldwide. And going into our residential solution, which be specifically talking about the DS3, figure it integrates with our grid-tied dual module microinverters with intelligent networking and monitoring systems, ensuring maximum performance and efficiency of your residential solar system. And I really do like this picture that we show here. It's going to give you a kind of a quick snapshot into how our products are installed, and also the steps that would be taken to get the information from the microinverters. So figure on this picture here, normal looking home, you got your modules installed up there on the roof. Our microinverters would be sitting right underneath those modules installed directly onto the racking. Figure all of the information that you're going to get from the DS3 microinverter is going to be sent down to our ECUR gateway. Figure there's this little Zigbee antenna that's sitting right there on the DS3, and that's communicating back with this Zigbee antenna off of the ECU. So that thing's up there producing, doing its thing, sending all of its information to this ECUR gateway, and then figure once that gateway gets that information, it gets uploaded to our EMA online monitoring portal, or what I like to call the cloud. And then talking a little bit further about the DS3, figure each DS3 model is going to connect to 2 PV modules for faster installation. It can be configured in either 240 volt or 208 volt. It is designed for today's high capacity PV modules, and we will get into that a little bit more a couple slides coming up here. Figure it does come with an encrypted high-speed Zigbee wireless 2.4 gigahertz mesh network with the TI Texas Instrument Karamba chip. There's new cooling topology for advanced heat mitigation, 20% fewer components for higher reliability, and it does come out of the box with a 10-year warranty, and you can extend that up to 15 years, making a total of 25 total for an optional purchase. And then figure it is UL 1741 or AKA California Rule 21 certified. And going a little bit into the nomenclature about the DS3, figure D is going to stand for a dual input. S is going to be for split phase, AKA single phase here in North America. And then it is the 3rd generation of the dual microinverter that we have put out. And going into talking about that 3rd generation, figure we started back in 2012 with the YC500. And then in 2017 came out with the YC600. And then in 2022, which is just this year, coming out with the DS3. And as you can tell, there's 3 different models of the DS3. You have the DS3S, DS3L, and then also the DS3. Figure more or less the same microinverter, just the only difference is going to be down here talking about the output capabilities of each of them. So figure the S has 640 total output for that microinverter are 320 watts per channel or per module. And then figure the DS3L going to have 768 watts capability, which comes out to 384 per channel or per module. And then the DS3 is going to have the 880 or 440 per module. And then a little bit about the global rollout. Figure it's going to give you each of these models and tell you where they are being sold at. And so figure the S, the L, and the DS3 all has the USA and Canada listed there. A couple of the other ones talk about Europe and Australia as well. And then the DS3H, which is by demand only. And then talking a little bit further about each DS3 model and talking about some of the modules that are going to pair up with them. Figure the DS3, we were saying 640 watts total for the whole microinverter, 320 watts per channel or per module. That's going to be ideal for PV modules under 400 watts. And then the DS3L, which is the 768 or 384 per module or per channel. That's going to have 40 amps available on most service panels, and kind of how we made this calculation and talking about this information here is figure most service panels have 40 amps of available space on it. It's going to leave you with 2 strings on 20 amp breakers, figure 1 20 amp breaker per string. That's going to come out to a 16 amp max load on a 20 amp breaker per the NEC code, figure the 80% rule there. And that's going to leave you with 5 microinverters on 1 string. That's 16 amps on that 1 string, which comes out to 3.2 amps per microinverter. And then if you take that 3.2 amps times it by 240, that's how you come up with that 768 watt number or 384 per channel. And then figure at 1.25 panel sizing, it's ideal for PV modules up to 480 watts. And that's a pretty good call out on this point here. Whenever talking about panel sizing in regards to the DS3 or really any of our microinverters, what we recommend people to do is do that 1.25 DC to AC ratio, meaning that the panel is slightly more capable than what the microinverter can do. It really helps for panel degradation, and also, I'm sure as a lot of you are aware, if you do have like a 400 watt module, the odds of it actually getting to that 400 watts is not very high, or at least if it does, it's kind of few and far between. So just taking those 2 things into consideration, the 1.2, 1.25 DC to AC ratio is what we recommend for sizing any modules with our microinverters. And then figure that last point there, talking about just the DS3, the 880 watt or 440 watt per channel. That's going to be ideal for PV modules over 460 watts. And then just doing a quick microinverter comparison. One of our biggest competitors in the industry is going to be Enphase. So we like to put some data together when talking about their IQ7, IQ8 series, comparing it to our DS3 series. And some of the numbers that we wanted to point out on this chart is highlighted here in green, talking about some of the output capabilities per channel. So you can see on, like, say, the IQ7 series, it's got a little bit less output comparing to the DS3, and then also some of the AC output increases. So just kind of wanted to give you a brief little tidbit here if you're ever looking to compare the two. Made this little chart and just giving you a little bit of brief overview there. And then the DS3 Microinverter Accessories, figure these are all the things that you will want to purchase when getting a DS3. You're going to have your AC bus and trunk cable, which comes in 2 different sizes. You could either do 4M or 2M. You're going to have your DC extension cables, which can't quite make a connection between the module and the microinverter. You're going to want to have some DC extension cables. Then you have your DC caps, male and females. You have your terminal cap for the AC trunk. Then you also have your disconnect tool. This is honestly one of the underrated accessories that I come across. A lot of times we get calls from installers that are using screwdrivers to try to disconnect the micro from the AC connector. It's not ideal to do that. The disconnect tool is much easier, and it's a night and day difference between, say, using a screwdriver or using a disconnect tool. So if you don't have these, highly recommend. It makes life so much easier when trying to disconnect microinverters off of the AC line. And then figure you got your end caps for any string that you have, your AC connectors, male and female. And then going into our APsystems commercial solution, and this is specifically talking about the QT2. Some of you are probably aware we had a news release. Oops, it's taken off on me. We had a news release happen, I believe it was 2 Fridays ago, maybe 1 Friday ago, where we were going to be releasing this new commercial solution, and that was specific for the QT2. And figure it's going to integrate native 3-phase 4-module grid-tied microinverters with our advanced gateway through a Zigbee mesh network and free online monitoring, ensuring fast and easy installation and maximum performance. And I do really like this picture as well. It's very similar to the residential solution on the previous slides ago. And let me see if I can stop this. It's wanting to take off on me. Okay, maybe not. And so you'll see that this picture is very similar to the residential solution that we were covering on a couple slides ago. You're going to have your modules that are, say, if this is a building here, installed up on top of the building. You're going to have our microinverters, which would be installed right under the module. Figure any information that QT2 is producing, what's going on with that is going to be sent to our ECU gateway. And figure for a commercial solution, you do have 2 options for the ECU. You could use a normal ECU-R, or if you were looking to get a little bit more information, say like consumption monitoring, things of that nature, the ECU-C would be your go-to in that situation. And then figure all that information that's being sent from the QT2 to the ECU would then be uploaded to our EMA online monitoring portal, or our cloud, as I like to call it. And then drilling down a little bit more, talking about the QT2, figure there's going to be 2 different versions of the QT2. You're going to have the 208 volt and then also the 480 volt. Figure the 208 is going to have 1728 or 1728 watt output, which comes out to 432 per channel. And you can see on here, like we were talking about, this one does specifically have 4 modules being connected to it. So you got 1, 2, 3, and 4, 3 and 4, and then figure it does have that same Zigbee connector there that's going to be talking back with the ECU. So that's how it communicates back all the information. And then also you have the QT2 480 volt version, which is going to be 1800 watts output for the entire microinverter, or 450 watts per channel. And then figure it's going to be native 3-phase, line 1, line 2, line 3. It's going to connect with up to 4 PV modules like we were just talking about. It is phase balanced and phase monitored. Figure also, just like the DS3, UL 1741 or California Rule 21 compliant. And then it also is rapid shutdown compliant as well. And then talking about some of the benefits of the QT2, all the benefits of module level power electronics for commercial 3-phase systems. It is rapid shutdown compliant, lower LCOE over the life of the system. It does accommodate today's high capacity PV modules. And if you have checked out the data sheet on this, it is live on our Canada website, and you can go and check that out. But figure it's going to work well with modules between 400 watts and 600 watt plus. Specifically talking about the modules, it pairs well with the 60, 72, 96 cell, also the split cell, half cut cell, and bifacial modules. If you do have any questions when you are trying to pair up a module with the QT2, you're always welcome to reach out to us as well, and we can help you come up with the best solution for it too. I figure it's going to have a DC input up to 20 amps, which is the highest among microinverters. You have encrypted 2.4 gigahertz Zigbee wireless mesh network to the ECU, which is the same as the DS3. It helps with faster communication and enhanced system security. And figure the range on that, say 250 feet, we're talking about the distance between the microinverter and the ECU unit itself. Figure that is the same case with any residential solution too. We do tell people that the range of the ECU is give or take right around that 250-foot mark. And then you can have consumption monitoring for 3-phase installations with the ECU-C. So we were on the previous slide just talking about some of the extra features that the ECU-C has. Consumption monitoring would be one of those. Figure you can do that, but you would have to install the 80 amp or 200 amp CTs for that. And then how does it compare with the YC1000? So if any of you are familiar with our older commercial solution that we had, which was the YC1000, this slide just kind of talks about the differences between the YC1000 and the QT2. Figure you're going to have 20% component reduction for increased reliability. So figure less components that you have, less chance that there is for any failures. You're going to have that advanced cooling topology for greater heat dissipation, enables higher power output capacity over previous generation product. And it's also phase monitored and balanced. You do have the Y and Delta configurations available with the QT2. Figure if you were going to be using a Delta high leg configuration, that would have to be done using the DS3. Wouldn't be capable with the QT2. And they do have external ground, no neutral. There's the consumption monitoring capable, which is what we just talked about. And then it's going to be on the same EMA monitoring system as our DS3, or if you've used our microinverters in the past, figure same EMA monitoring portal. And then shifting slightly away from that, talking a little bit more about our gateways, specifically talking about the ECUR, it's going to be our state-of-the-art communication unit. It's information gateway for APsystems microinverters. It collects and transfers module performance data in real time. Control over each individual module for optimized performance. You can do it and connect it to the internet either via Wi-Fi or with an Ethernet cord. Ethernet cord is preferred, but if that option is not available, you can always go via Wi-Fi. And then it is cellular capable as well. You have a high-speed Zigbee communication to the microinverters and simultaneous inverter polling. And we're going to be doing a walkthrough of the EMA here pretty soon. And I'll go over some of the details of that, but just to give you a quick little overview before we do, our EMA portal is a robust energy monitoring and analysis interface. You've got around-the-clock monitoring, advanced web-based software, detects and alerts users to any performance issues. And you do have that module by module level monitoring, and it's a powerful diagnostic tool. And I'll go into that here in just a couple of minutes and show you how we say if we get any phone calls, how we troubleshoot issues or kind of drill down and see what's going on with any particular microinverter. And the EMA portal, still talking about that. If you do log in as an installer, you'll see that you have a fleet view when you first log in, and I'll go over that here in just a couple minutes too. A lot of our installers will use it as a truck roll prevention tool. You can diagnose issues online. You can look at individual modules or microinverters, check the wattage, the voltage, the amperage of all of those at any given time. And that's going to help you determine if you have a disconnected cable, bad panel, poor communication, breaker trip, whatever the case may be. And like I said, I'll go over a little bit of that here pretty soon. And if you don't already have the EMA Manager app and you are using our products currently, I do highly recommend to download and install that app. Figure if you're going to be setting up any ECUs via Wi-Fi, you would need to have this app downloaded. But beyond that, if you were to log in, you'll basically see all of your customers on that app, and you can check on any individual systems, see if it's producing, what it's producing, if there's an issue going on. So say if you're on the go and don't have access to, like, say, a desktop computer, this app is really good. If you got, like, say, a phone call of a customer complaining or something like that, you could always just log in on the app if you're on the go and see that customer system and basically get the same view that you would get from a desktop computer, but on an app instead. Figure you do still have some admin capabilities through the app, but yeah, quite a bit of good information there. Okay, and how we train installers, I did want to use this opportunity to do a small plug. Each month we do have an installation training series or webinars that takes place. So if you're ever interested in getting a little bit more in depth, talking about, say, installing a certain product or whatever the case may be, We do have webinars that you can attend on a monthly basis. I would say check our website for when those will be coming up. I believe the next ones are coming up in the middle of October. And then going into some learning resources, if you ever have a need of going to check product data sheets, user manuals, even setup guides for how to set up, say, an ECUR or whatever the case may be, there is quite a bit of information on our website. And I apologize, but this says usa.apsystems.com. That should say canada.apsystems.com. I figure same information will be on both pages, but there's a lot of resources on our website, like I was talking about, user manuals, data sheets. Then there's also a frequently asked question page. It's like 50 things long. We tend to update that fairly frequently about frequently asked questions we get, not just from homeowners, but from installers. Like if you have questions about, like, say, battery compatibility, how to do certain things on our website, the FAQ page has quite a bit of good information on there. And then there's also that training page as well. And the one that I like to point people to is our YouTube page. If you ever have any, maybe a more visual person than, say, a reading person, which I tend to be, there's quite a bit of videos on our YouTube page with how to install certain products, maybe typical questions you might get asked. And then some of the webinars that we've done in the past, maybe specifically talking about installing DS3s, those are up there as well. So you can go to our YouTube page at youtube.com/APSystemsSolar for more resources too. And some of the key takeaways that I wanted you guys to have from this webinar, and talking specifically about our products, going to have a faster installation, 50 to 75% faster microinverter install time when comparing it with in-phase. We do have quite a few installers out there that do just single crew members. They'll go out there and install a system by themselves. And then you can also mix and match any of the DS3 units on the same trunk line with multiple PV modules, types and sizes. It's going to have the same trunk cable, same connectors, same ECU. So you definitely can mix and match. Has some of the reduced stocking costs too. Only 3 single-phase microinverter models, covers all panel sizes from 300 watts to 550 watts. And then you do have some flexible sizing that you can do too if you ever have a customer that wanted to add some modules down the road. It's fairly easy to do that as well. And I'm going to go ahead and stop this and pull up my EMA Manager and do that walkthrough now. And let's go here. All right. So I was lucky enough to have one of my installers let me go into their account. So this is an installer that's actually based out of Florida. And when any of you log into our EMA portal, this is typically the view that you're going to see off the bat. It's going to give you a list of all of your customers, give you some basic information on here, who the customer is, what the ECU number is, also tell you where the system's located at, city and state, system size, when the actual date was created. And this is the part that I wanted to shout out in particular. Is going to be your system statuses. And so figure if you do log in, I'm sure you've probably seen all these system statuses before. I like to call them traffic lights. There's 4 different lights that you can come across. One is black, one is yellow, one is red, and one is green. I don't have a red one showing on this particular account, but figure just to give you a quick overview of what those traffic lights mean. Figure black is going to mean that the ECU has never reported data before, and it could be due to quite a few reasons. And I'll go into this account here and show you that in a sec. Yellow figure is going to mean that there's one or more microinverter that has a problem going on, or it could mean that, let's say, for example, you're installing a DS3, but you have an odd number of modules that are on your system. So you're going to have one of the DS3 channels without a module plugged into it. That yellow light could mean that the one module is still, say, paired up with the ECU. And so the ECU thinks it's having a problem, but it just basically needs to be deleted off because there's not a module there. So figure yellow light, one or more microinverter with a problem. Green light is going to mean that everything is good. All microinverters are producing and communicating normally. And then that last one was the red light. So if you ever come across the red light, and obviously not showing here, but the red light is going to mean that the ECU is currently disconnected from the internet, but at one point it was connected. So figure it's just lost the internet connection and it's not currently reporting data back because of that. And then I'm going to go ahead and jump into one of these systems with a yellow status on here. So let's go ahead and pull up this account. Actually, let's go back one. I'm going to go into this one. Okay, and so when you take a look at it, you can see that there's, clicking into the account, quite a bit of information on here. It's going to give you, if you're looking at this graph here, right below it, ECU number, today's energy, and that is in kilowatt hour output. It's going to tell you the current power, and then also give you a chance to drill down a little bit more into that. And so figure if you ever come across an account and maybe want to check out and see what was going on a previous day, this little detail button on the dashboard page will allow you to do that. And figure you have a lot of different ways to drill down and check production of a system. Obviously, it's going to default to power in a day, but you can change that to hourly energy in a day. And this is one of my favorite ones to use just to check what's going on at particular times throughout the day. And so figure 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., this system made 0.29 kilowatt hours, 9 to 10, 0.57, 10 to 11, and so on. So you can check it by hour in a day, you can check it by daily energy in a period. So let's say, for example, you might get a call from a customer that has a higher than expected bill. You can go through and line up when their billing cycle was and check to see, each day over the course of that time frame, what happened, or even check a cumulative over that course of time frame. It'll basically just let you know if the system's doing what it should or shouldn't. And you can also go by looking at it in a specific month, or looking at it over the course of a year. Let's go back one here. So going back to the dashboard page on here, you'll see that there is also more information when the site was created, the system size, what type of products are being used, is it a commercial or a single, or a commercial or residential solution going on. So good amount of information there. And then just to kind of go over some of these icons that are over here on the left-hand side, figure dashboard is going to be the view that we're looking at now. Module view is going to show you what each individual module is up to on the last report time. And so I'm going to go back just one day. This is actually in Florida, and I'm sure some of you might be aware, but there's a hurricane going on there right now. So I think that's probably why the system's showing a little bit low. But if we go back to yesterday and take it out here, and this is my favorite part to use when diagnosing any system. So if you ever have a system that is showing any issues whatsoever, maybe a module is not working, maybe a whole microinverter is not working, whatever the case may be, if you go to this module view and just take a look at each individual module, it's pretty clear, which ones would be working and which ones aren't. And so if you look at this particular system looking at yesterday, this bottom chart over here is going to show you that it starts about 8 a.m., 8:30, 9, 9:30, and on down the line. But if you were to take a look and just see these modules, it's like, yep, these top ones are working and these bottom ones are definitely not. And so, how do we go about troubleshooting and finding out why these ones are working and why these ones are not? And the first place that I always go when seeing any of these modules that aren't working is to literally just click on that module, and it will give you an option to go to detail down below. And that's going to show you what this particular microinverter and this particular channel on that microinverter, or figure module 1 or module 2. Input is going to give you the DC side, so to tell you the DC power, DC voltage, DC current. Or you could switch to the other module on that microinverter, or channel 2, so to say, and it's going to give you the DC power, DC voltage, and DC current for that one as well. Or you could switch it to output, which is going to give you the AC side, and also it'll give you the frequency, voltage, temperature, and power as well. And so when I take a look at this one, let's just go back from the beginning. So obviously see that this side's not working, what's going on with it. Got some DC voltage coming on there. You know, looks pretty normal for the most part. Don't have any current, don't have any power, but voltages look good. Same thing on channel 2. Voltages look good. Still no power being made, no current. But if you go to this AC side, which is output, you can see on there that there's 0 volts showing for this particular microinverter. So that's why this one is, you know, say not working. It just basically doesn't have AC voltage getting to it. And if I'm taking a look at this system here, seeing that all of those are working and all of these are not, I would guess that you probably have one string here. So figure one micro, 2 micro, 3 micro, 4 micro, 6 micros there total. All of them look like they have the same issue going on, which is just no AC voltage getting there. So probably have a string there that has a breaker tripped off or something like that. But just kind of wanted to show you a little bit of what that looks like and what we do on our side. Like say if you were to give us a call and how we go about troubleshooting this system, that's one of the first places that we'll go if we see a micro is not working, is just drill down a little bit into the details, check voltages, see where the issue may be coming from, and it can help you make a diagnosis there. And you can also get to that same data, get into that detail section here, just by going to this left-hand menu, clicking on report and going to inverter data, and that'll take you to the same spot as well. And then you can scroll through and check any microinverter out that you want to. And then for any of you that have ever replaced a microinverter before, figure this history section here, if you did do it correctly, in which, just to show you how we would expect the installers to go about changing out a microinverter number, on this left-hand menu, you're going to see a spot for user registration. And there's that replace device function. And so if you ever had to change a microinverter ID, just switch it up here under device type from ECU to inverter. It's going to give you all of your inverter ID list, find the one that you want to replace, click that replace button off to the right, enter your new ID there, go ahead and click the OK button. And what that'll do is actually update the position of the microinverter on the module view, and also send that sync command through to get all of the communication going for it. And then figure if you did go about it that way, using the replace device button, it's going to come up here in the history tab, and it'll give you all of the history of the one that you've replaced on this site, the numbers that it was replaced with. And this is maybe not the best example because one hasn't been done on this site, but nonetheless, you can go back and see how many microinverters were replaced on a site, what was it replaced with, kind of all that good stuff. And then one more thing that I wanted to show you was under the remote control section. If you were ever wondering, and you might get a phone call from us, or not from us, but call us and hear us talk about a firmware update, or maybe you need to check on the firmware of the ECU. If you ever wanted to see what the current firmware was, and let's say you're not on the app, but you're on a desktop computer, on this left-hand menu going under ECU setting, you'll see up here that's going to give you the ECU ID and then the version number. So that one, if you were ever needing to check on the firmware version of the ECU, figure that's going to be that number right there. Also too, in this ECU settings section, it's going to tell you if all of your inverters are synced up, or what I like to call linked up with the ECU. And so for communications to start with any micro, for those of you that have used our products before, you'll notice that you have to have this link status say link. And as long as it says link on there, the communication should be synced up with the ECU. And so this is a good spot to check and see, like, let's say, for example, you have one microinverter that's not communicating with the ECU. I'd always go to this section first just to check to see if that link status shows as link. And if not, let's just say, for example, it did not say link there and you needed to get it synced up, you would just click that checkbox of the one that's not linked up, make sure it says add instead of clear or delete, and just go ahead and send that through. And that should get the syncing going. And then if you did need to check and see, you know, when did that command go through? Has it been performed? You can go to the setting list that's under remote control as well. And that'll tell you which is the one that I just sent here to get that synced up, what time it was sent. And then obviously it doesn't have a reply time quite yet, just because it needs probably about 5-10 minutes or so. But once that gets performed, you're going to see a timestamp on here in this reply time section. and it'll let you know that that command has been performed. And so one more thing just to look at before we go on to the questions or the Q&A, or actually two more things. Last thing that I wanted to show on the EMA portal was this diagnose tab. If you ever want to know if you're commissioning a system or want to know if the ECU is currently hooked up with internet or not, if you go to this diagnose tab and then click on diagnose, you'll see this little section here called last heartbeat time. That's going to let us know the last time that the ECU detected internet. Typically speaking, that's going to update about every 5-10 minutes or so. And so if you were ever had you guys on site, know if the ECU was connected or not, just go to this diagnose tab, click on diagnose, check this last heartbeat time, and that'll let you know if the ECU is connected with internet or not. If you've ever come across a firewall situation, like let's say, for example, you have an ECU that's connected with an Ethernet cord and you're checking this diagnose tab and it's not showing a timestamp here, it's usually a dead giveaway that you might have a firewall situation going on. You can always give us a shout with regards to that too on our tech support line and we can help you through it. But I always want to recommend people to go and check this particular spot just to make sure if the ECU is connected to the internet or not. And then last part, if you ever were interested in resources of how to define an issue, like let's say you have a non-communicating microinverter or maybe one that's not producing and you're not sure what's going on with it, we do have a really informative troubleshooting guide that's available to say installers that are logged into their account just by going to this setting icon up here, clicking on resource. And you'll see down here on the bottom right, APsystems Troubleshooting Guide. You can go ahead and go to that and it's really informative. It talks about some of the things that I'm talking about now, but if you ever come across a communication issue, it'll define it for you. Production issue, it'll define it for you, how you go about potentially fixing the issue. Even talking about troubleshooting installation of CTs on an ECUC. It's got a whole bunch of good information on here. And it gives screenshots and kind of tells you how to go about fixing certain problems. You can always give us a call too on our 1-800 number and we can help you out with it. But if you're ever interested in some literature, it's a pretty good piece of information for you. And so with that, do we want to go ahead and jump into the questions?
Sounds good. We have a couple here. Mike asks, will the new 3-phase micro be separate channels like the DS3 line or all shared input like the YC1000 was?
Yeah, and really good question. So it's going to be 2 MPPTs. So figure channel 1 and channel 2 would almost be like their own micro, and then channel 3 and channel 4 would be like its own micro. And so figure it's not for the whole microinverter like the YC1000 would have been. I figure you have 2 individual MPPTs, if that makes sense.
Okay, somebody asks if the webinar will be available for download. This will be on our YouTube channel as well as in our October newsletter. Dave asks, for rapid shutdown, as a micro that transforms DC AC at the module, what is the purpose of it when the intent of rapid shutdown is to limit DC energy through control conductors to protect firefighters from chopping into DC beyond 1 meter from an array?
So good question. As far as the AP Smart rapid shutdown products would go, they separate us a little bit. And so like I do the microinverter side myself, but we do have other technical support agents that do just AP Smart. I'm not too up to speed with the rapid shutdown myself, but what I would recommend is we do have a support channel for the AP Smart product. I can give you the phone number if you would like. I'll give it to you right now. Hang on just a minute. But I would suggest just to give that support number a call, and they should be able to answer that for you. I apologize. I don't do anything on the AP Smart side, unfortunately. And let me get that number for you real quick.
Let me chime in. So if you're looking for technical support, it's going to be, actually sales is info at apsmartglobal.com. It also gets to the technical support team. The phone number for AP Smart products is 737-218-8486. I'll repeat it one more time. 737-218-8486. And Derek, can you close your window?
Oh yeah, sorry about that. Forgot I was sharing my screen.
Guys, are there any more questions out there? I don't see any at the moment. It's a great opportunity. If you have any more, I'll give it just another few seconds here.
Yeah, and I also will mention too, if you do ever need support with microinverters, our number is available Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern to 8 p.m. Eastern time. If you do need to contact us, you can also contact us through the email channel, which is the support.canada@apsystems.com. But yeah, both channels are available for support if you do need to reach out about, say, module compatibility, maybe further questions about the QT2 or DS3. Yeah, feel free to give us a shout at any time.
There's a follow-up question. It says the AP Smart is really of no use in a microinverter design, correct?
Correct. It's for centralized inverters. Microinverters, not just ours, all microinverters have rapid shutdown already included. So it's not necessary to pair them together. A lot of questions that we receive from the Canadian customers is rural applications. We get calls about options for cell service or placement. Please reach out to us. We'll take a look at whatever plans that you have available so that we can strategize on where to put the placement if you have a weird situation.
Yeah, that's a good call out too. A lot of times we get phone calls while installers are, say, on site, and they maybe are having issues connecting something, or we could have given them a diagnosis prior to them, say, going out to site and letting them know, hey, we could have fixed this issue remotely, or maybe here's some steps that you can do while you're there, so they can come prepared, so to say. So if you guys ever do have a situation like that, you can always reach out to us if you're looking for a little bit of information prior to going to site, or maybe think of a, maybe issue you're planning on having there. You can always reach out to us and we can help out with those too.
Great. Well, I don't see anything else, so I'd just like to thank everybody for taking the time to attend. Thank you very much, APsystems. As mentioned, this was recorded. It will be on our YouTube channel and come out in our newsletter here shortly. If you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to one of the reps, whether it be inside sales or outside sales, to help with. Also, if you haven't got a web shop account yet, I would encourage you all to sign up for that. That's where all of our pricing's found now. Spec sheets, warranty, install manuals, inventory. You can see past orders, you can pay your bills. It's really quite a powerful tool that we've been working on here over the last year. So once again, thank you, APS, and thank you everyone for spending the time with us here today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Hope you guys have a good day.
You too.